The Cannondale CAAD12. It's really, really good. Really. The heart of the bike is Cannondale's legendary aluminium frame. It ships with a ballistic carbon front fork, an almost complete SRAM Red eTap group set, the only difference being the force level brakes, Cannondale's in-house brand hologram SI wheels, saddle is the Physique Antares R5, tyres are Vittoria Corsa 25mm, and the rest is a whole bunch of Cannondale. The bar, stem and seat post, all from their own in-house brand. And it all adds up to about 7.68 kilos when weighed with my Shimano 105 carbon pedals. So what makes this bike so special? Well, for starters, the geometry. This is exactly the same geometry as the Super 6 line of bikes, which is what they're racing around in on the Pro Tour. So it just handles fantastically well. It's so smooth, incredibly stable. It's got a sharp front end, but it's not as sharp as something like a TCR Advanced or my Specialized Alley. Now, second is the ride quality, and this is something that's really surprising and particularly surprised me about an aluminium bike. I've got an aluminium bike and I've ridden quite a few of them, but the CAAD12 is by far the most comfortable and the most refined feeling aluminium bike I've ever ridden. And there's a number of reasons for that. A lot of it is to do with the quality finishing kit that Cannondale has put on it. The Save seat post is, you can see it's got this shaping to it where it'll flex backwards and side to side. And being only 25.4 mils in diameter means that it flexes really freely. So not only does it flex side to side while you're riding, it'll flex backwards to help absorb bumps, which really protects your lower back. And you really notice it underneath you when you're riding. Now at the front, the handlebars are really good. They're in-house Cannondale alloy bars, but they are way better than you'd expect from most in-house alloy bars. Also, the ballistic front fork, you can actually sort of see it because it's so slender. It does move around sort of fore and aft just a little bit, and you can see it working to ride the bumps, and it takes the sting out of the road. The only time I was really aware of it being an aluminium frame was the feeling that I got through my feet. It did transfer a bit more vibration into my feet than I would expect from most carbon frames, except for really, really stiff ones. So not only is the handling really great, it feels pretty good in the hills. It's plenty stiff and it's not heavy. It doesn't feel lumpen. So, I really enjoyed riding it in the hills. And 7.6 kilos isn't crazy light, but it's plenty light enough. Anyone who complains that their 7.6 kilo bike is what's holding them back should probably train harder. Now let's talk about that SRAM Red eTap group set. I love wireless shifting. I think it's fantastic. It's clean, it's simple, you're never gonna break a cable, and yes, you might run out of battery, but personally, I know how to deal with a flat battery a lot better than I know how to deal with a snapped cable. So let's start with the shifting. It's very accurate and very consistent. I didn't miss any shifts, I didn't drop the chain at all, and yeah, it gets into gear, pretty easily. It's not a very fast shifting group set. I think they've really focused on being reliable and always making sure it goes into gear, rather than being super snappy like a well set up cable group set will. So I really enjoy the Red eTap. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the next few generations, how they refine it and how they make it better. Now, my biggest problem with this particular build is the hologram SI wheels. They're fine. They're perfectly fine wheels. They feel like in-house branded carbon clinches. I've ridden a few of them and they kind of really feel similar. They're pretty light, about 1,450 grams. It's not amazing. They're about 30 millimeters deep. They do well in crosswinds. They're fairly wide and they're just fine. They're fine. The problem is that they're not so good that I want to use them over a nice set of aluminium clinches. The braking is pretty good. There's a fair bit of power there. There's not a lot of feedback, so modulation can be a bit awkward. They do squeal quite a lot. Roll the squealing footage. Quick note on the saddle, it's the Physique Antares. Personally, I don't get along with the Antares that well. It's fine, it's quite wide, it's quite flat. Those aren't really the saddles that I normally go for, so, you know, it's a fine saddle. Some people will get along with it, some people won't. Now the gearing that comes on the group set is a mid-compact 52-36 at the front and an 11-28 at the back. That's fine for a lot of people, but I spend a lot of time in the hills and I like compacts, but that's just personal preference. Now I want to talk value. The frame and fork can be bought for 1,500 Australian dollars, and that is just fantastic value. Because the star of this bike is definitely the frame. It has a nice build kit on it, no doubt about it, but for me, the frame is just really, really great. Now the recommended retail on this full build is 6,400 Australian dollars, so it's lower than Cannondale do with their crazy black edition CADs, but it's higher than the sort of industry standard for aluminium bikes. Most manufacturers don't really go above $4,000 for their alloy. So as good as everything is on this bike, you know, it's not mandatory that you have a build this good. And for $6,400, it's not bad considering it has a red eTap group set on it, carbon clinches. Even though they're not my favorite carbon clinches ever, they're still pretty good. And it has really good quality finishing kit on it. So a lot of people might freak out that $6,400 is too much for an aluminium bike, but it has a really great build on it. And you know, there's plenty of other options in the range to do cheaper, or you can start a build from scratch. Now, if you want to read more about the Cannondale CAAD12, I have a link in the description below to a full written review I did on La Velocita. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think of the CAAD12? Are you a CAAD12 owner? Do you want to be a CAAD12 owner? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.